Mangwanani Mwalele Pofu Kenjani Krekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond on Monday the 2nd of October. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shipura. How are you, Glenn?
I'm doing very well. It's a brand new month.
Yes, it is indeed.
I'm quite excited.
Yes.
It's summer, officially summer, I'd like to think.
Yes, of course. But when you live in Africa, you know, it's a lot of summer to go around.
For sure, for sure. Now, getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast, Gabon First Lady charged with money laundering. Biovac and EuBiologics collaborate to produce meningitis vaccine in Africa. South Africa-Lesotho immigration model under review. We'll be right back with your top stories after this.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, so Sylvia Bongo, the wife of ousted Gabonese President Ali Bongo, has been charged with money laundering, receiving stolen property, forgery, and the use of forgery. Public prosecutor Andre Patrick Roponat announced on Friday that Sylvia Bongo's case had been brought before an investigating judge the day before. He also said her house arrest order was being upheld. The charges follow weeks of uncertainty about Mrs. Bongo's whereabouts after she was put under house arrest on 30 August when the military deposed her husband. The decision to charge the former First Lady comes after her son, Noreddin Bongo Valentin, was also charged with corruption, embezzlement, and placed in pre-trial detention. However, deposed President Ali Bongo, whose tenure was replete with accusations of corruption, has been released by the military junta and cleared to travel abroad for medical attention if he wishes to do so.
Swinging over to South Africa, South African biopharmaceutical manufacturer Biovac has signed a memorandum of understanding with Korea-based vaccine manufacturer EuBiologics for the technology transfer of a meningococcal meningitis pentavalent vaccine. EuBiologics will share the expertise, skills, and knowledge needed to produce the meningitis vaccine with Biovac. Meningococcal meningitis is a bacterial form of meningitis, an often fatal disease caused by the inflammation of the tissues surrounding the brain and spinal cord. Survivors often have long-term health problems such as hearing loss, neurological damage, or loss of limbs. Biovac said there was a huge unmet medical need in the meningitis belt of sub-Saharan Africa, which stretches from Senegal in the west to Ethiopia in the east, where there are now circulating serotypes of the bacteria Neisseria meningitis, which causes meningococcal disease. Now, serotypes are distinct variations within a species of bacteria or virus. The company said meningococcal disease was endemic in South Africa, with sporadic cases occurring throughout the year.
Now, Basutu visiting South Africa may be able to stay longer than the current 30 days per visit currently allowed by the South African law. This was announced by Lesotho Prime Minister Sam Matekane following a binational commission between the two countries in Pretoria. Matekane welcomed discussions aimed at putting in place a South Africa-Lesotho specific immigration model. He says Basutu may be able to stay for 90 days per visit should engagement proceed well. We are also delighted that we are able to discuss the daily issues of concern around migration, study and work permits for our citizens, and do hope that the remaining issues will be resolved in the coming months. Matekane adds, we also appreciate the positive discussions around the possible extension of the entry visa for Basutu into South Africa.
Alas, gas moves to prevent a U.S. government shutdown took a dramatic step forward on Saturday as Democrats overwhelmingly backed an 11th-hour Republican measure to keep federal funding going for 45 days, albeit with a freeze on Washington's massive aid to Ukraine. The stopgap measure, adopted 33591 by the House of Representatives, was pitched by Speaker Kevin McCarthy with just hours to go before a midnight shutdown deadline that would have seen millions of federal employees and military personnel sent home or required to work without pay. 90 of the votes against the measure came from the Republicans. The deal still has to be approved by the Democrat-controlled Senate. The shutdown crisis was largely triggered by a small group of hardline Republicans who had defied their own party leadership to scupper various temporary funding proposals as they pressed for deep spending cuts. Saturday's agreement could end up costing McCarthy his job, as the hardliners had threatened to remove him as Speaker if a stopgap measure they opposed was passed with Democrat support.
Now, the chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee vowed on Saturday to block military aid and arms sales to Egypt if it does not take concrete steps to improve human rights in the country. Democratic U.S. Senator Ben Cardin issued the threat in a statement saying it is imperative that we continue to hold the government of Egypt and all governments accountable for their human rights violations. The announcement came a day after U.S. Representative Gregory Meeks, the ranking Democrat on the House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee, said he has asked the State Department to pause a portion of military aid to Egypt conditioned on human rights criteria. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we have a look at the latest from the Namibia Film Commission trying to woo in Hollywood. Stay with us.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Now, the Namibia Film Commission last week held a press briefing in Windhoek with the guests of the location's familiarization tour organized by NFC in collaborations with Moon Valley Films. This event marks a significant milestone in NFC's journey to position Namibia as a prime filming destination for the international film industry. The location's familiarization tour, FEM is a strategic initiative designed to roll out the red carpet for Hollywood and Europe's elite location managers. Let's take a look.
Thank you, Fina. My name is Andre from Moon Valley Films. We started this project about 6 months ago. I met Laurie, I had the privilege to meet Laurie at Focus London last year, where I accompanied the Namibia Film Commission to Focus London, which is an international locations show. I met Laurie, and Laurie has mentioned that she has never been to Namibia. And through this conversation, we decided that maybe it's time to put Namibia on the map, and instead of us going out there, let's rather bring the industry experts here. And what better way of doing it than bringing in Laurie Bolton from LA, as Melfina has mentioned, Marcus Bench from Berlin, and of course Janice from LA. So thank you very much for joining us here today. Our plan with the FAM Tour is to showcase the country and its locations. We are here to showcase infrastructure. We are here to showcase why Namibia should be the next filming destination and why it should be chosen as a filming destination. We believe Namibia has a lot to offer, and Namibia Film Commission has been doing amazing with promoting the country out there. With this visit, we are really planning to showcase what Namibia has to offer. Of course, Namibia is big. We have only 9 days, so we're trying our best with our itinerary to show them as much as possible. So without further ado, I just want to pass the microphone around so we give a chance to our guests to introduce themselves, but also basically why are they here? I think that's a question that can be answered. In addition to this, we will be hosting another masterclass with all 3 of our guests on the 9th of October at 15:30 here at the Village, where we will be chatting about locations, do's and don'ts, but also a bit of a impression of Namibia. How is Namibia for the guests?
All right, so that was the NFC, and it's always good to see such progression made in the industry, particularly for filmmakers like yourself.
Yes, I'm actually quite excited because, you know, with such initiatives, maybe we can be scouted.
You currently have a film right now, right? That is on Showmax.
Yes.
Your film, directed by you?
I directed and wrote a 50-minute short film.
All right, what's it called?
It's called Chef's Kiss. So if you guys are interested, please go watch it.
Love to see it. Let's head to the weather.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
All right, let's head into economic news stories. The French oil and gas company Total Energies aims to supply up to 1,000 megawatts of electricity to South Africa from its proposed liquefied natural gas LNG to power project in the southern Mozambican city of Matola, according to a report from the Zitama News Service. Now, the project director Antoine Mezin made the announcement at the Mozambique Energy and Gas Summit in Maputo on Thursday. Discussions are underway regarding power purchase agreements, but 1,000 megawatts is targeted in the midterm, Mezin explained. The company had talks with South African Electricity Minister Josiencho Ramakgopa in May and July. Now, Total Energies has also held meetings with South African mining and industrial companies, a number of which have expressed interest in buying electricity from the Matola LNG project. Total Energies is developing the Matola project with South African energy company Gigajoule International with a view to making a final investment decision in 2024.
Now, as Nigeria marked its 63rd Independence Day anniversary on Sunday, President Bola Tinubu offered a temporary minimum wage hike for lower paid workers. The announcement came just 2 days before a major labor unions are due to begin an indefinite strike on the 3rd of October in protest against the rising cost of living. Tinubu also promised the introduction of cheap gas-powered public transport and more social security for the poor to help offset the impact of his economic reforms. Now, following his elections in May, he ended a long-standing fuel subsidy, liberalized the naira currency in a bid to attract more foreign investment. His government said the reforms applauded by investors were necessary to revive the flagging Nigerian economy. But with inflow at 25% and fuel prices soaring, people are struggling to make ends meet. In addition to its use in vehicles, petrol is widely used in Nigeria by millions of small businesses and households to power generators, as the country does not produce enough electricity to meet the needs of the citizens.
All right, now before we head to the indicators, Happy Independence, Nigeria. Yesterday was Nigeria's Independence Day, and I'd like to take this time to extend my celebratory message to my favorite Nigerians. Number one, Burna Boy, followed by the entire Nollywood industry, followed by Tiwa Savage, and number four, Burna Boy, yet again.
Wow.
Peace and love to all the Nigerians I love and the ones that love me. Let's head to the economic indicators.
E-Ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
All right, let's dive straight into our sports news stories. An athletics official suffered a broken leg and serious bleeding after being hit by a misthrown hammer in the Asian Games in Hangzhou, but his vital signs are now stable, a spokesman for the game said on Sunday. Just before 8 p.m. on Saturday, Kuwait's Ali Zankawi lined up for one of his throws in the men's hammer final at the Eastern Chinese city's packed Olympic Stadium. But instead of soaring straight onto the outfield, the hammer flew out sideways and low to the right, smashing into the leg of the sitting technical official.
Well, speedy recovery to him. Now moving on, 8th seed Veronika Kudermetova claimed her first title of the season and second overall with a comprehensive 7-5, 6-1 win over world number 4 Jessica Pegula in the Pan-Pacific Open final in Tokyo on Sunday. An aggressive Kudermetova wasted little time unleashing her powerful shots from the baseline and broke American Pegula early for a 3-0 lead. But she dropped her own serve in the 5th game before allowing her opponent to draw level in the first set. An untimely double fault from Pegula gifted Kudermetova the first set, and the Russian world number 19 raised her intensity again in the next set as she raced ahead 5-1 before closing out the contest on her 3rd match point with a big serve. It was Kudermetova's second win over Pegula this season.
All right, let us talk English Premier League. You want to talk about an action-packed weekend? This was one of the more potent ones. We start off with Manchester United, a club with more history than future at this point, because in the week they faced Crystal Palace in the EPL Championship and they managed to beat them 3-0 at home. However, I don't think they assumed that Crystal Palace would have been accustomed to Old Trafford, because on Saturday Crystal Palace got the best of Manchester United with a 1-0 win. Now Pep Guardiola made the mistake of calling one of the Wolves players that Korean guy before the game, because that same Korean guy is the reason Wolves beat Manchester City 2-1, giving a first defeat to the treble-winning champions. Of course, losing at Wolves is something that can happen to anybody. Bournemouth could not withstand Arsenal as Arsenal scored 4 goals to their 0, with Havertz getting his first goal for the club since leaving Chelsea. Now let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend, Liverpool versus Spurs. Now in this game there were many different layers, but what stood out was a denied goal of Luis Diaz, and that specific goal was the conversation for the rest of the game. Liverpool went down to 9 men, They did have an own goal, but even down to 9 men, Spurs could not score a goal of their own. However, the denial of that goal was pivotal to how the game transpired. And as a result, video assistant referee officials Darren England and Dan Cook have been replaced for 2 games this match week. Like I said, Liverpool went down to 9 men as Curtis Jones and Diogo Jota were sent off in the feisty clash before the own goal. Now, the Merseyside club thought they had taken the lead in the first half through Luis Diaz, who got behind the defense and fired into the bottom corner past goalkeeper Gilguelmo Vicario. However, the goal was ruled out by the referee for offside. So naturally, this created a whole conversation around VAR. What is the use of it when such blatant bad calls can be made? And when the Premier League Referee Association made a statement, they said this was a case of human error. To which we ask again, what is the use of VAR if you still make human error? Human error is what existed before VAR, so what is the use of it? But it reminded me of a specific story. Back in the day, Arsenal was playing Sheffield. There was an unfairly intercepted throw-in by one of the Arsenal players, which led to Arsenal winning that game. Then Arsene Wenger, for the integrity of the game, offered a rematch because everyone knew it was wrong. Wow. 10 days later, that rematch was played. Now, can Spurs do the same? Yes. I'm not sure. I expect Tottenham Hotspurs to have about as much class as a nursery school dropout. Highlights after the break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's head into the highlights. Gabon First Lady charged with money laundering. Partners in saving lives, Biovac and EuBiologics collaborate to produce meningitis vaccine in Africa. South Africa to buy electricity from Matola gas to power project.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Monday morning. Do remember that you can catch Africa Good Morning tomorrow, same time, same place. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry. Suraj Laganaka.